from Wingate University and WUTV. This is Wingate Today.
Hello and welcome to Wingate Today. I'm Jeff Atkinson. We begin with the most unique way to build team spirit and throw off the opponent. One of the TV show Duck Dynasty, Sitting in Silence, and the number 10 all have to do with a basketball game? More than you think. You've no doubt heard about the reality show on A&E, Duck Dynasty. 4 brothers who make duck calls for a living. All have college educations and all are known for their flowing beards. Well, the Wingate Athletic Department invited fans to dress up as their favorite Duck Dynasty character, come to the Wingate Catawba Indians basketball game, and in an attempt to quiet the Indians, create a diversion by staying silent until the Bulldogs scored 10 points. They handed out the rules to the crowd beforehand. Look at the cheerleaders in a silent cheer. Well, the diversion worked. During the women's game, after the 10th point, and later during the men's game. Fans got into the silent treatment theme night. Look at these two.
Not only did it bring a lot of people out, but it also made the excitement whenever we hit that 10-point mark so much better. Like everyone wanted to get up and really yell and stuff.
And me and him went to Goodwill today and got these were actually jeans and I cut them off. And then I brought the boots back from home, so I was prepared.
And so were the players. The Duck Dynasty silent game worked. Wingate won both the women's and men's games. And for the fans, prizes were awarded to the best beards, real and fake. The Wingate University School of Sports Sciences is reaching out to the community in an effort to educate people about health, fitness, and eating right. Dr. John Acquaviva, exercise physiologist, is recording short vignettes that will air on ESPN Radio in Charlotte. The segment is called the Health Minute. In the 60-second spot, Acquaviva helps radio listeners in their desire to lose weight, get in shape, and he tackles some of the myths about healthy living.
There's a lot of information out there on the internet, on TV, maybe even through some of the education that they've had. And I think sometimes people, even if they've gotten the right information, they need it to be clarified, or they need to be reminded on why it's a good thing to follow this type of program, or why it's a good thing to avoid this in your diet.
Acquaviva also hosts The Fitness Doctor, a health show seen here on WTV 22. Listen for his Health Minute segments airing weekdays on ESPN 730 AM radio in Charlotte. Signing Day has become a big event at high school campuses all across our region, and the Wingate Bulldogs have a lot to celebrate as well. With us now is the voice of Bulldog Sports, Ryan Brown, and Wingate is in the midst of that recruiting battle in all sports. Ryan?
That's right, Jeff. Like many of the great structures and buildings that have gone around on the beautiful Wingate campus, none of those were built overnight, and neither were all the championship teams that Wingate Athletics has had over the past decade. So many hours of practices and scouting reports have gone into those championship teams, but maybe most of all, it's been the recruiting battle itself.
It's just before sunrise on a Wednesday morning during the Wingate football offseason. Usually the field house would be quiet and the parking lot would be empty, but this isn't your typical Wednesday. Today is one of the biggest days of the year. It's 2013 National Signing Day.
Caleb's Coach Reich, how are you?
I'm all right. How's it going, Coach?
I'm doing great. Hey, welcome aboard. We're fired up, and congratulations on being a Bulldog.
Over the next few hours, Wingate head coach Joe Reich and his staff will keep a close eye on the fax machine and call recruits to congratulate them on becoming the newest Bulldog, a process that didn't happen overnight.
Signing Day is always a great day for us because when it's the culmination of a lot of work. So it's all these hours, all these phone calls, all the research.
Wingate recruiting coordinator T. Overman, who has headed this effort, shares Coach Reich's relief of signing day finally arriving.
Glad signing day's here. It's been a long process, tough couple of months. We got a lot of great guys that are going to do a lot of great things for us in the classroom, on the field, and we're just all excited about getting these papers in. We're about halfway through now, and hopefully wrap it up here pretty soon.
The football team is celebrating signing day, but sports like men's basketball are in the heart of their season. The recruiting process is still in full force for head coach Brian Good and his staff.
One of the biggest challenges for us is not only do we have to be focused on our games and getting ready for each opponent, but throughout the course of the season, we've got to continue to recruit. We're bringing in players almost every time we have a home game. We're trying to give them the best experience we can while still trying to get ready to win each game.
Recruiting is far from a process handled by just the coaches. Meet Assistant AD for Compliance Liz Biggerstaff, who in part handles the paperwork for admittance of each athlete.
National Letter of Intent Signing Day is a really big day for prospective student athletes, their parents, and the coaches. But leading up to that National Letter of Intent Signing Day, there's a lot of work that's done on the front end by the coaches and by the Office of Compliance in other areas of the athletic department.
Recruiting is a tough process for the coaches and at times can be challenging as well for bigger staff.
There are challenges along the way of just making sure that we're collecting all the necessary documentation on the prospective student athlete that allows them to sign the National Letter of Intent.
Reich and Good are quick to agree that their minds are always on recruiting, regardless of what else is going on, even during the season.
During the season, you know, it's not just about us playing football and getting our games. It's about, okay, on Friday night, going to games, calling guys during the week, following up with them, recruiting the people around them.
It's kind of a non-stop thing, but for basketball, it's just the way it is. You have to be able to balance both the in-season with your team and then preparing for the future with your recruiting.
Speaking of the future, with signing day complete, when does work begin for the next Wingate football recruiting class?
Signing day is a great thing. Well, the next meeting I'm going to have later this afternoon with Coach Overman, our recruiting coordinator, is, okay, let's talk about the recruiting areas for next year. It is nonstop recruiting central, 365 days a year. That's the lifeblood of any program.
Jeff, as you heard from Joe right there in the last clip, he just signed his 2013 recruiting class, but he's already thinking about the 2014 class, and I can promise you that's the same with every Wingate coach, already thinking about the next season, no time to rest.
Ryan Brown, thank you very much. Keeping with the sports theme now, there's a new look for Wingate Bulldogs athletics and a new branding campaign as well. Ben Richardson is here now with this month's Blog Talk. Ben, what do you have this time?
Well, Jeff, branding has become one of the most talked about subjects in the business world today. And with technology at your fingertips, the visual elements are more important than ever, with websites, social media, you name it. Recently, I had an opportunity to sit down with Ryan Brown, who heads broadcasting and production for Wingate Athletics, to talk about his most recent challenge, redesigning the athletics website. When I asked him why, his response was simple.
This website is going to be viewed by our parents, our fans, our staff, and we want to make it, as friendly as possible to them and put the right information in the places they can find it easiest.
There's no question the site will be top of the line. After all, Ryan spent an entire summer researching more than 600 websites. Were there difficulties?
Everybody has a different eye, so we were trying to find throughout the athletic department what people saw in the website and what it meant to them.
And while there were more challenges that I'm sure he wanted to mention, there were some highlights as well.
I can't sit here and say it hasn't been a lot of fun too, be able to push the website forward and push our school forward.
And while the website is great for the university, it's also needed to help draw the community.
Sometimes people come to a website and say, look at this website, look at their stories, this is exciting, this is fun to be a part of. Maybe we'll go out to a game and maybe we'll be involved next time we get the opportunity.
From the old site to the new site, there are significant differences, including live stats, live video and audio feeds, as well as a photo gallery. Courtney Callahan, the new marketing guru for athletics, seems to think the idea for a redesign was a no-brainer.
I think it'll just make it a lot easier for the students to know when our games are, to know when our special events are, to know when a specific promotion is going on at a game that they don't want to miss.
And when I asked Courtney why our teams will benefit from the site traffic, her response was confident.
I think the outcome is always better when they have fans in the stands.
Our newest feature to the athletic website is the online store, also called the Fan Zone, where you can buy all the latest merchandise for the Bulldogs. Be sure to check out the new website at wingatebulldogs.com or believeinthebulldog.com. And Jeff, that's all I have for Blog Talk this month.
Thanks, Ben. On the subject of media, they've been a part of our daily lives for what seems like forever. Newspapers. You remember the sound. You've seen them, the old printing presses, and the familiar sound they make, the clickety-clank rolling out that day's news. Today, it's all high-tech, hardly a sound as your newspaper rolls off the presses. The world, as we all know, is changing. More people are getting their news digitally, and newspapers are having to adapt, and that includes our local paper here in Union County. Joining us now on Wingate Today from the Enquirer-Journal in Monroe is publisher Marvin Enderle and managing editor Stan Hanowski. Gentlemen, welcome. It's nice to have you here.
Good to be here, Jeff.
Marvin, let me begin with you. I've been a fan of the EJ for many years. What changes are coming at the paper?
There are several changes coming, Jeff. We are changing our content somewhat in that while we have for a long time published a newspaper with largely local content. We're increasing that, bringing back some of the things that community newspapers started with, what we call public records news, property transfers, building permits, divorce decrees, marriage licenses, more court news, those kinds of things. Also bringing back some community columnists. Actually, if any of our viewers are interested, we are looking for community columnists, local food columnists, local gardening columnists, so people from the community contributing more to the paper. So the content will become all totally locally generated content. Along with that change is in reaction to, as you indicated, the way our readers' reading habits have changed, we will become a print edition 3 days a week, publishing on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. We will maintain a website 7 days a week, and we'll update that daily with local news as it comes into us.
This will have a lot of color. And Stan, I wanted to ask you, what will this allow you all to do? You're going to be focusing more on content. The 3 days a week, what will that give you the advantage of being able to bring news?
I'll take some of the pressure off of having to fill all that space every day, which I hope will give our reporters a chance to do more thoughtful pieces. What we envision going forward is page one will change from being timely and perhaps be more issue and people-oriented. So it'll be a more thoughtful front page, although we're not going to go away from covering the news and the events that are going on, but those will probably be pushed further inside. By consolidating 2 days worth of paper into one, it'll be a much meatier paper.
Is this something that papers are going to, that you see?
A lot of papers are, I think, for economic reasons. Certainly papers like Detroit Free Press, New Orleans Times-Picayune, the Syracuse Post-Standard, Cleveland Plain Dealer, the Harrisburg.
Those are big papers.
Big papers have gone 3 days a week, at least ink on paper. We, like they, will have a website that is where we will be as current and competitive as we ever were in print. Will be more so. We'll update the website as stories break instead of doing it just once a day.
Marvin, you have been reaching out to the community and community leaders, letting them know that this was coming. You reached out to us. Something that excites, I think, Wingate University is the opportunity for us to be able to do more partnership, because you'll be looking for local content. Talk about that.
I have reached out and have met with folks in the community, inviting them, much as we have Wingate University, to contribute to our content. We know that Wingate in particular has a huge presence in Union County, is an important part of our county. There are other organizations in the county, the Chamber of Commerce, for instance, that we're reaching out to, trying to increase the local content. By and large, the response has been very positive. We did expect and are receiving some negative feedback from some of our subscribers. But as with all change, again, we expected that, and we think that once our subscribers get this in their hands, see the increase in local content, the full color photos, they'll be very happy with the changes we're making.
We wish you all much success. Marvin Enderle, publisher, Stan Heinowski, managing editor, thank you both very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Coming up on Wingate today, our alumni spotlight. He lit up the hardwood as a student at Wingate. Now he's motivating young minds as a local high school principal. You'll meet him next. And later, she transforms clay into a masterpiece. How, for one woman, art really is a reflection of her life. We'll be right back.
These are a few of the beautiful items featured during the 3rd annual Spring Fundraiser Silent Auction benefiting the Wingate University Friends of the Ethel K. Smith Library. The event will be held at Rolling Hills Country Club in Monroe on Friday, February 15th at 7 p.m. Reservations are required and tickets are $50 per person. Featured this year is Gaston County native and New York Times bestselling author Wiley Cash. Events include a buffet, cash bar, author talk, and book signing. Wonderful silent auction items donated by local merchants include lovely gift baskets, handcrafted jewelry, a Kindle, this wine cooler, and much more. For reservations, call 704-233-8091. Don't miss the 3rd annual spring fundraiser for the Wingate University Friends of the Ethel K. Smith Library, Friday, February 15th, 7 p.m., Rolling Hills Country Club in Monroe.
Back with our Alumni Spotlight now. This is the part of the program where we shine a light on Wingate alums who are making a difference in their community. And Wingate Today contributing reporter Brian Stevenson, class of 1995, is with us now. Brian, you've met a guy who's really made a name for himself.
That's right, Jeff. Jonathan Tyson was a great basketball player at Sun Valley High School here in the county and went on to lead Wingate to South Atlantic Conference Championship glory. And now he's making a difference at Piedmont High School, where he serves as the principal.
Good morning. Good morning. Watch that Super Bowl last night? Yeah. I hear you.
On a cold morning in February, we found Principal Jonathan Tyson welcoming kids for another day at Piedmont High School. Tyson has risen quickly through the ranks in Union County since leaving Wingate, and now leads more than 1,000 students and teachers.
Good morning. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Teachers, lead your students when you are ready. This is the best job I've ever had because of the rewarding experience when you get to give back and help kids and work with teachers and see them grow. So it really has been a rewarding experience.
Tyson often uses his own life as an example of what it takes to be successful after high school.
I tell my students and staff here all the time that I'm not sure I would have ever went to college if it were not for college athletics. I was really driven to be a college athlete. I was a pretty good student, but when I got to college I realized what it really meant to be a strong student academically.
Jonathan's time as a student athlete saw a huge turnaround in the history of Wingate basketball, and he was a large part of that, scoring over 1,300 points as a Bulldog.
We were obviously a struggling program, and then we were, basically a national contender when I left, and that was something that was an experience that I'll never forget.
In fact, the 1999-2000 season, the Bulldogs won their first ever Food Lion South Atlantic Conference tournament title, as captured in this Enquirer Journal headline.
We're going to communicate, we're going to do it all paper and pencil.
But Tyson's focus these days is on making Piedmont a better place. He meets with his school leadership team on a regular basis, and he has not stopped his own academic studies.
And I am currently enrolled in the doctoral program of ed leadership. I finished my educational specialist degree in September, and I'm currently in the middle of writing my capstone project to finish that degree, and hope to do that sometime this summer.
Combining his studies with having a family, and you can see that Jonathan Tyson has a lot on his plate. But he tries to keep all of his work in perspective by using the lesson that he learned from his Wingate University days.
There were people there that did not see me as just a number. They saw me as an individual, and they were interested in my success. And that's something that I've tried to carry over into my career as an educator, is to see children as not just a number, but see them as individuals that have needs and that are wanting to be successful. I just need to spend the time and take the time to help them be successful.
Obviously, Jonathan really loves kids, and he is doing a great job at Piedmont High School, Jeff.
Great story, Brian. How did you find him?
Well, coincidentally, it came from you, the viewer. And of course, we are always looking for suggestions for our Alumni Spotlight. You can send us yours by simply emailing us at info@wutv22.org. Let me give that to you one more time, info@wutv22.org. And maybe next time, we'll feature your suggestion.
Brian Stevenson, thank you very much. February is Black History Month, and to kick it off, the university's Black Student Union hosted an event called Soul Food Extravaganza. It was held inside the Dixon Palmer Student Center, a time for students to enjoy some free food. There was chicken, green beans, and mac and cheese, while at the same time learn about where soul food came from. Organizers' goal? Give students information about African American culture, more than what they've read in textbooks.
The food is delicious, but this food came at a time during slavery, and this food was a representation of the leftover food that the masters would give to the slaves, and they turned it in, the slaves turned it into this successful culture that we love today.
This is the second year of the Soul Food Extravaganza, sponsored by Black Student Union. Documenting the history of African American men is the focus of a book written by a local author and veteran editor and newspaper writer, Cliff Harrington. Just Tell the Truth, a narrative history of black men told from the inside, tells the story of a generation of men whose voices somehow been lost in this high-tech information age. The book sets the record straight, providing an insider's glimpse into the history of African American men who set high standards, worked hard, and mentored a younger generation. And the author, Cliff Harrington, joins us now on Wingate Today. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
We said in the intro, Cliff, that we're setting the record straight. Was this book born out of frustration?
It actually was. As an editor, I've been in the newspaper industry since the 1970s, and I've seen the images that evolved as it relates to African American males. And it's not been a positive image. And because it's not been positive, I feel like there was a tier of African American males who were virtually ignored. And I wrote this book because I'm one of them. But beyond that, I grew up around males who were strong men who worked to do the right things. They weren't perfect, but they adhered to a principle of honor and integrity, and they held those around them to that principle. Even if you didn't exactly follow it, that was the mark you were striving for.
How would you describe the book? Did you actually interview these men, or was this a summary of their account? How did it come together?
You could classify it as memoirs, but it's a situation where I actually lived it. And I draw on the expertise of knowing these men firsthand, having been taught by them, having observed them, having learned from them, and remembering the lessons that they taught. And at the time, I didn't really think that they were valuable lessons sometimes, because the men, they could be strict and they could be hard. But as I grew older and became aware of the historical context, a lot of what they taught and a lot of what they said made sense to me. Now, these men were not men who were going to go out and have some big public relations campaign to say, here, understand me. They didn't care. They were grounded in who they were and what they were, and that's where they stood. And if you didn't understand them, that was your problem.
Do you think that their voice was lost or has been lost?
Oh, I absolutely do. And that is my point of frustration even today. I feel that too many times the message focuses on the negative, the African American male stereotype, the sexual predator, the unwillingness to work, the father who won't take care of his children, when there are millions of men out there right now who don't fit that stereotype and who conscientiously reject that stereotype, and they live to Christian principles. I say that because in this book, these men were adamantly Christian and followed emphatically biblical tenets. That was their standard. They didn't care about government standards or societal standards. They cared about what the Bible said, and they held you to it. And I think that because they did that, I often thought they were out of step, out of style. Other people didn't see them, they were invisible, and they've just sort of fallen out of the historical message that we get.
This was fun, I imagine, writing this book. Is the book available at bookstores, Amazon? Where do you find it?
You can get it online, Amazon. Right now, that's the only place you can get it.
Just to Tell the Truth, a narrative history of black men told from the inside. Cliff Harrington, it was a pleasure. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
And finally here, none of us would consider getting kicked by a horse a good thing, but not everyone can say they're Marilyn Hartness either, a faculty member in the art department at Wingate. Reporter Kim Williams joins us now on scene with a segment we call Overtime, a feature about people who go over and above others in life.
Marilyn Hartness is a tiny, powerful woman, a lot like a stick of dynamite. Her fight and victory over cancer is evident in her artwork and in her way of life.
Haley, come girl!
Marilyn rides her 1,200-pound Arabian horse Haley every other day. She leaves the Wingate campus after teaching and drives a short distance to her farm with rolling hills and green pastures. This is her retreat, her sanctuary. After being kicked by a horse, Marilyn sought medical treatment, which led to an early diagnosis of a rare blood cancer, and she began her fight for life.
My oncologist said that more than likely in the next 6 months, I would have had some type of illness that would have encouraged several antibiotic attempts, and nothing would have touched it. And then it would have been all over me, and I would have been kind of like a goner.
An avid runner, she knew she needed to train and keep in shape during her chemo treatments in Chapel Hill. So she swam when she could and had an exercise bike in the hospital room. When the treatments were over, she wanted to rebuild the healthy tissue that chemotherapy had broken down. So she received IV treatments of high doses of vitamin C at a medical center in Arizona.
All of my good parts were also very stressed. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to do some ultra healing here. It worked for me. And you know, you can say that maybe I'm putting too much weight on that. And so I guess you have to look at an individual's, their philosophy. But it worked for me in many ways. That, and of course, high power prayer.
In her work as an artist and an art professor, she sculpts pottery, oftentimes using symbolism in her creations.
Tell me about all these armadillos that we see. That is an animal that just has intrigued me because of the way it has been a survivor. In thousands of years, the armadillo may get wings. So this is just a little projection that I have, because I believe in the statement of the possibility of the impossible.
And her horse is always present. Did you paint the horse here on the
I did. That's an underglaze. It's a white underglaze, and I did that because of the animal that I ride and like so much.
Haley?
That's Haley.
Marilyn listens to music that she finds as her elixir, the key to her feeling empowered. She told me for a moment in time, you feel like there's not a lot on your shoulders. You are one with the clouds. Aside from all of this, Marilyn spearheads a silent auction to benefit the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, along with the Bone Marrow Registry each year. This year's event will be held Monday, March 25th at Monroe Country Club from 4 to 8 p.m. Marilyn hopes her story will help others find strength through adversity. Reporting on scene, Kim Williams, Wingate Today.
Thanks, Ken. One final note before we close.
This is Molly. I'm calling from Wingate University. How are you?
When the phone rings this month, Wingate alumni, parents, and friends are encouraged to answer the call. The university's annual phonathon is underway. 35 students from across campus are spending their evenings calling supporters' homes to update their information and ask for a donation to the annual fund, which Eric Osterhaus, assistant director of the annual fund, says supports scholarships for students, study abroad programs, and internships. His message to alums:
every dollar that's raised does support our students and does give them the great Wingate experience that they had the opportunity to have themselves. So being able, whether it's a $5 gift or a $500 gift, every dollar counts.
And that's the sound I hear when a donation comes in. Organizers are hoping to raise $60,000 for the Wingate University Annual Fund. If you'd like to help out, go to our website. We have a link to the university's giving page. Go to wutv22.org. And that's our show for this time. I'm Jeff Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
Comments? Questions? Contact us. Wingate Today is a production of WUTV and Wingate University's Department of Marketing and Communications.